Congressman, because she's absolutely right. I remember one kid told me that he thought ATM meant all the money. We went into a program, a school in Detroit with our program. 12-year-old young man, African American. He's sitting there trying to sit there like the rest of these kids, trying to be cool. What he thinks is cool. We've made dumb cool in the last 20 years. We need to make smart sexy again. So he after 3 sessions of Banking Our Future, he's sitting up in his chair now. The 4th session, he's coming to class dressed like you, dressed like me, with a suit on, his Sunday suit. And so after the 4th session, his friends are like, man, why are you doing this financial literacy course? This ain't nothing. So I go to defend his honor. He said, no, it's cool. So I gave each one of the kids $70, make a decision about Nike. 2 kids who hadn't gone through Banking on Our Future, 1 kid who did. The 2 kids who didn't go through said, I want to buy some Nike shoes, some Air Jordans, for which they need another $30. Derek, who had gone through the program, said, I want to buy 1 share of Nike stock. That's a Stacy Tisdale comment. So the kids jump on him again. Man, why you want to buy that stock? That ain't nothing. Everybody's got Air Jordans. Everybody's wearing Air Jordans. You need to get you some Air Jordans. So I go defend his honor again, Congressman. He said, no. It's cool. I want them to buy those shoes. Because when they do, they're making me money. Because now he had a mentality that he was a shareholder. He had bought stock in Nike. That's how you break the back of poverty. So when she talks about the psychology of money, we need to put the language of money in young people at the very earliest age. Put it in their DNA, so they grow up understanding civil rights and silver rights.
Right, Stacy. In your book, a life planning approach is discussed that focuses on the individual rather than the portfolio. What are some techniques that allow individuals to successfully plan one's financial future and take complete control of their finances? I'd like to hear your views on that.
Again, it goes back to awareness. Let's take a specific example. Social scripting plays a big part in our financial behavior. And one of the things that I have people look at is what are the social scripts about your racial group? What are the social scripts about your ethnicity? Let's see how this is playing out in your financial behavior. Take them through a couple questions. What do you see people like you doing? What do you see people like you not doing? Now let's go back to your goals, talk about those things we plan. Does this behavior serve you? And it's amazing how just bringing a little awareness into the equation, people will give that aha moment. They'll give that moment of pause that allows them to make a different choice. The problem with these messages, the role modeling or lack thereof we're getting from our families, the whole social messaging, how we perceive ourselves, is that we blindly follow them. And they cost us dearly. And I was sharing this with John recently. I did a radio show, and a woman called in, and she said, you're sitting here talking about the psychology of money, saying financial planning is for everyone. Financial planning is not for people like me, and you should really get a grip. And I said, what do you mean? She was 24 years old, a single mother of 2, and she had $30,000 in credit card debt. She was a college graduate in Wisconsin, but when she graduated from college, she couldn't get a job that paid her enough to support her family, so she took wage jobs, bartending, waitressing, no insurance. So sure enough, this woman gets into a car accident. She has to put all of her medical bills on her credit cards. So she's telling me all this. She's telling me I'm not taking people like her into consideration. I told her she's acting like she's planning on coming into a lot of money, and she had me explain. This woman's problem was that she didn't have insurance. Right. Her perception, she said it like herself, financial planning is not for people like me, gets her off the hook when it comes to looking at all of her options. The radio announcer named 5 organizations off the top of his head in Wisconsin that help single mothers get insurance. She didn't even know things like that existed because she gets stuck in that mindset. Financial planning isn't for people like me. People have to step back and look at what they're really doing and take responsibility for it themselves.
Right. John, you mentioned something off the air, and I want you to just sort of share it with my viewers. You're talking about in terms of the guy who came in, that makes your suits. I want you to tell it. I mean, really.
Yeah, well, about this time in this interview, my hero and my mentor, who says hello, Andrew Young, was here.
Oh, yes.
He would say to me, John, stop all these fancy words and all this. Talk to people real, because folks are intimidated by all this stuff. And that's why I call it the language of money. And what he would, the story that you just mentioned is a story he would like me to tell. And this is a story of real life. A young man, late 20s, early 30s, comes to me. His name is Bryant Taylor. He has a dream to become an entrepreneur. And he thinks all he needs is money. So he begs me, he says, John, all I need is a $10,000 loan. I said, man, you need a plan. No, I need a $10,000 loan. Fine. So it's a free country, gave him the loan. He goes to a convention, gives it to rich people who take his $10,000, and he comes back with nothing. He comes back, he says, okay, I'm willing to listen. So you need financial literacy, you need a business plan, and then you may need a little money. So he goes through the process. He gets now a $35,000 loan, pays back the first $10,000. Long story short, he's now in business making $500,000 a year in Drobe clothing. He's paying his taxes. He's raising his 2 children and his wife. He's paying it forward. He started a nonprofit in a local school in South Central LA to show other people how to become entrepreneurs. He's my suit maker. He made the suit that I'm wearing today and the shirt that I'm wearing today, and has done a fabulous job. And it's hard to fix me up. So this is financial literacy in action. We've got to reduce it to real life. One of my heroes or sheroes is Dr. Dorothy Height. I know you know her.
Oh, yes.
I just saw her yesterday, and she said, John, look, civil rights is fantastic, but what good is the right to enter a hotel if you can't afford to pay the bill? So this is the next movement. You have 30 million people in this country who don't have a bank account. In the richest country in the world. No one's teaching our children financial literacy or Life 101 skills. We live in an economic era. So you cannot pull the trigger on the American dream. You cannot fulfill it unless you understand how capitalism and free enterprise works.
Stacy, I can't let you go without asking you, what led to your writing this book?
A lot of frustration in that the information was out there on how to manage money, how to budget, but there was some reason that people couldn't stick to that information. There's some reason that people couldn't follow it. Talk to any financial planner. The number one reason people fail, their financial plans fail, is because they don't stick to it. So there had to be, people had to look at that why, and I thought too much financial literacy education focused on the numbers without looking at why is this happening? Why aren't I sticking to this budget? Why aren't I investing money? And the reason is things like we're talking about. You might have that gender perception or that ethnic perception. Well, people like me don't invest. You never saw it happen growing up. So you really have to look at how those non-financial factors are playing out in your behavior. And I just got to see firsthand that's where the pay dirt is. And I just got very frustrated seeing people only focus on the number side of the equation where they're just the offshoot. That's just the final way that these things manifest, but you really have to see what's driving your decisions, and I just want to make sure that that gets addressed in our financial dialogue.
Right. Let me thank both of you for what you're doing, because I think you're right that we have to start at an early age. Mm-hmm. And if we start with the young people, then some of the mistakes that are being made today will not be made. So I think that that's really the number one solution to the problem. Mm-hmm. So I want to congratulate you first on your book. Number one, and number two, in terms of what you're doing in reference to saying to people, you don't have to be in poverty. And of course, thanks again for being on News and Views. It's a pleasure to have you, Stacy, of course, and John. Thank you. Right. Pleasure.
God bless you.
You have been watching Political News and Views with Congressman Ed Towns of the 10th Congressional District of New York. If you have any questions or comments regarding this program, please write care of Congressman Ed Towns, U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. 20515, or call 202-225-5936.